I just feel like I've been around the block, ripping up fantasy stock, working around the clock. Look at the view from the top. Researching rookies a lot? No, I just be listening to pods. Yeah, one in particular, I'm just a messenger. Let me just pass on the rock. Browning, brunning, pruning, pronouncing ain't what he's doing. What he's doing is not losing, but infusing you with new things. And there's Dennis the Bennett. Yeah, the man is a menace. Yeah, building a dynasty, some of the finest things. Promise you won't regret it. Sly as a fox, culture than pop. Give him his props. Here is a thought, here is a box, and you cannot compare them at all. So don't even try. Careful with the news, but when you use a take, I take up Tony Fire. I mean Dyer, because anyone else is a huge mistake. Whoa, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Hey, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Roundtable Podcast. It is Tuesday. It is cut down day. The rosters have been trimmed to the final 53, which means there's plenty of news to talk about. Dennis and I will also be looking at the over-unders for every team. So that'll be something to look at. But we'll dive in with a look at news. So first I'm going to talk about some of the things on rosters. We had a lot of quarterback news. The only team not to declare a starter, the Saints, have named Spencer Rattler as their starter for week 1. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, Aiden O'Connell broke his wrist, ended up on IR. So they traded for Kenny Pickett, which clarified the Cleveland Browns quarterback depth chart down to 3 as they put Deshaun Watson on PUP, released Tyler Huntley, and traded Pickett. So it is just Joe Flacco and the rookies. And then the Vikings, I made some comments about how not good Sam Howell looked in the preseason. Apparently, Kevin O'Connell felt the same. He traded Sam Howell to the Eagles, and then the Vikings signed Carson Wentz. I would say of this news, the most interesting to me was the addition of Carson Wentz, because I think McCarthy still remains a little bit of an unknown coming back off that injury. Wentz, a backup that if you were in a really deep Superflex league, I might consider rostering for a while.
Yeah, I definitely think that he's worth a flyer. The downside is, have you watched him play these last several years?
He was actually pretty good for the Chiefs last year, so maybe getting some coaching and some.
But there's a reason he hasn't been given really a lot of opportunity. And, you know, we have to believe what teams are telling us. And they basically told us that, you know, he's not a guy that they want to rely on. I think O'Connell is, you know, one of these guru genius kind of guys. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Sam Darnold in Seattle this year. But Wentz very well could end up playing a role for the Vikings should McCarthy struggle, you know, as a first-year starter. I think that if I roster JJ McCarthy and I have the room, I might handcuff him just in case. But I don't know that we're really invested in McCarthy, even in Superflex, to the point where it's like, well, I'm really counting on this guy to give me good numbers to support my team for the playoffs. I think if you're starting J.J. McCarthy right now as your QB2 in Superflex, you're probably a fringe playoff team at best. Maybe you're rebuilding and you're hoping a young quarterback pans out. And so, you know, grabbing the veteran just in case. You know, we saw what, you know, a little pine time, even if it was injury related, did for Bryce Young last year. So I don't know. You know, the good thing is they've got Justin Jefferson. It seems like they've got a decent O-line and run game, and Kevin O'Connell is a pretty solid coach. You know, Pickett's a weird one for me. Like, will they keep him around when O'Connell gets better? Is he an upgrade over O'Connell?
Yep.
I don't know that he is. We'll see. And I like Spencer Rattler when he came out. I hated that he had to play last year. I would have loved for him to have been able to just ride the pine and then battle for the job this year. I don't know that he looked necessarily a lot better than Tyler Shook. I think maybe he was a little more consistent. He does have a big arm. He can make the throws. They've got some weapons there with Shaheed and Olave and Devon Vele and Juwan Johnson and Alvin Kamara. So, and I think we talked about it last week, or I mentioned it last week. I think all 5 of the Saints O linemen, they've got like 4 first-round picks and a second-round pick. Granted, a couple of them are, in their 6th year or so. So it isn't like everybody's, a young stud. But if that line can gel with the weapons there, the possibility exists that Rattler could be decent. And I like I said, for a year and a half now, Rattler was the guy I wanted last year after the top 6. I just felt like he needed some time. I think he's got a lot of confidence. He showed that coming out of high school, bordering on arrogance. But as a quarterback, you kind of need some of that.
I was kind of surprised because I actually watched all of the Saints' last preseason game. And I went in thinking Rattler should be the one that they picked. I came out of that thinking that it definitely should have been Tyler Shook. Rattler did not look good. And unless they're playing for the top draft pick, they keep swearing they aren't. But if you were playing for a top draft pick, he's the guy I would roll out there. He just didn't look good, and he didn't really move the offense.
I mean, unless they have some sort of inside intel that Arch Manning will come out if the Saints have the first pick. I mean, everybody in his camp is saying he's not coming out next year. That
except for him.
He comes from a situation where he's not hurting for money, and with NIL, he's getting his own money. So it's like, what's the rush? Let me hang out on campus and play and do the Matt Leinart thing, hot tubs and Texas chicks,
Meanwhile, among receivers, the long training camp situation for Terry McLaurin ended with a 3-year, $96 million extension, which seems pretty good for him. Jacoby Myers, kind of a surprise yesterday for the Raiders. It came out that he has requested a trade. The Raiders said they have no intention of trading or moving him, that they need him. And then they responded by signing Amari Cooper. I was kind of excited about the Amari Cooper signing. And honestly, they should keep Myers and Cooper because we've made jokes about them having no wide receivers. I think neither of us are probably surprised McLaurin signed. It's a little bit less than what he had hoped for, but a little bit more than what the Commanders said they wanted to pay, which seems just about right. I think it's good to have that settled. Cincinnati also settled things with Trey Hendrickson, so kind of the 2 biggest holdouts from teams that we think could be contenders seem to have gotten settled. How are you feeling about that news?
Well, I like the Amari Cooper signing better if they don't move Jacoby Myers. I mean,
yeah,
because they needed that. They've got Dante Thornton, who has flashed as throughout camp. They got Trey Tucker, Jack Besh, so they've got some young guys that are very unproven. Geno, I don't think Geno's going to lead the league in pass attempts by any stretch. They didn't draft Ashton Genty to not use him, and they have Brock Bowers, who is, one of one. So the signing of Cooper, like if they've got Myers and Cooper, I don't know that either one of them is going to go for 1,000 yards. If I had to place a bet, I would bet that neither of them go for 1,000 yards. But it does make the team better to have both of them. I want to see sort of, is Geno still, have some of that Canales magic with him, even though Canales is gone, and can the Chip Kelly offense, was he able to revamp it enough to work in the NFL this time? Because the first time he came to the NFL, it was rough. But having Amari Cooper as Cooper disappears in games, but he's a good, very good route runner. Myers is a good, he's a good 1B receiver, I think. On this team, Bowers is the 1. Then Cooper and Myers are the 2, 2A, 2B. And then we'll see what happens after that. But for me, I don't know that I would want to count on either Myers or Cooper as anything more than a wide receiver 4 or 5 for fantasy purposes. I like the McLaurin signing. I feel like I've been, planting my flag that a deal would get done. And I feel like I was honestly relieved that it got done, because the crows were circling and I was going to have to eat up if it didn't get done. And I think that I'm looking forward to seeing the Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Noah Brown, Zach Ertz offense.
Isn't Brown? I thought Brown was out injured.
He may be. I haven't followed it that close. I know they like him. He's kind of a glue guy, wide receiver. We saw in Houston a couple years ago. If you use him, he can put up numbers, but really, it's 6'2", 225. He's like a extra blocker out there for the most part. I'm confused about the Trey Hendrickson deal. So what I want to know is, do they have a handshake deal that says we're not going to franchise tag you, that, we're going to, we redid your deal, we're paying you a bunch of money, but it's just a 1-year deal. He wanted security, and this deal doesn't give him that. So, and how much better is that defense really? It just feels like now they've got Hendrickson back, and he'll rush the passer and get a whole bunch of sacks, and Burrow's still going to have to score 35 points a game if they expect to win.
Yeah, I think he just settled for, they weren't going to trade him. They couldn't work out a long-term deal. They'll probably have to cross that bridge when it comes to it. You must be right that Noah Brown must be tracking toward playing, because he's not on IR and they only kept 5 wide receivers. So I would assume they believe, or they're hopeful, that he's going to be available for them.
So off topic, I had money left on underdog, and so I've been doing these. I think I'm in the puppy. So I've had like 18 slow drafts going on as I build up towards the NFL starting. And while there are days I really wish I'd get more picks, it's been nice because I basically now for about 10 days or 2 weeks, I've just been picking along, several picks a day, closing these couple teams out here and there. It's exciting. We're on the clock. So
nice.
I'm not going to win the big prize, but what the hell?
You never know. Running back news, Joe Mixon got put on short-term IR, will miss at least 4 games. Same for Tyjae Spears, who, injury designation seems to be a consummate for him. Meanwhile, Brian Robinson Jr. Did get traded for only a 6th-round pick and to the 49ers, where he will most likely be the primary backup to McCaffrey, which, if you had been using him as a flex starter, or God forbid, a running back 2 starter,
that's bueno.
That's probably a blow. I think we kind of expected Mixon wasn't going to be ready to start the season, which makes, this could be Chubb or Pierce's time to shine. And then for Tennessee, it feels like this is how the season ended last year too. Tony Pollard, wheels up, friend.
Yeah, I've been nabbing a decent amount of Tony Pollard in the these underdog drafts I'm doing. So I'm happy with that. That I early on I grabbed a couple shares of Spears because I like the explosiveness, but he just doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy for any period of time. So I was like, well, whatever. Now it's who's their backup? They cut they got Mullings and Chestnut. That's their backups. Yeah. So they're both grinders. They're not explosive like Spears. So maybe they hope Cam Ward will provide some fireworks with Calvin Ridley and Chig Okonkwo and Van Jefferson. And
I don't know that anybody incredible got set free either, but I mean, it's possible they'll, a lot of teams go and hit up the waiver wire. So we shall see.
Yeah, the Mixon thing it was weird because you had a little bit of hope early on, and then it was like, okay, well, maybe they're just gearing towards week one. I'd started to shy away. And I was like avoiding the whole backfield. And then I was like, oh, well, wait a minute. Dameon Pierce, their offensive scheme may change a little bit now. It's a little more suited to Pierce's running style. Nick Chubb is lots of reports that he just doesn't look good, doesn't have any explosiveness. Dameon Pierce might be a thing again, at least for a few weeks. But it does look like they're leaning towards Chubb. Pierce got banged up. I think he's scheduled to be back and be just fine. Woody Marks, I don't think he was set to play a primary role in their offense, but he'll have an opportunity maybe to do a little bit. And then, Pierce, I think he returns kicks as well. But I wouldn't mind seeing Pierce, make another run at fantasy relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, he was injured, missed a lot of camp, so we'll have to see how healthy he is. So among the notable cuts, I'll read off a list of guys, and some of these guys I expect will end up on practice squads. Hendon Hooker, released by the Lions. Desmond Ridder, released by the Bengals. Tommy DeVito, released by the Giants. Kyle Trask, released by the Buccaneers, who moved on to Teddy Bridgewater. Mike White, released by the Bills. Jake Haener, released by the Saints. Clayton Tune, released by the Cardinals. Cam Akers and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, released by the Saints. Pierre Strong, I was kind of surprised about this one, released by the Browns. Audric Estime, released by the Broncos. Khalil Herbert, released by the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know why you put Sincere McCormick on there because I said notable, and there's nothing notable about him. Robert Woods, released by the Steelers. I thought that was a mild surprise. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, released by the Seahawks. Also a mild surprise. Mecole Hardman, released by the Packers. KJ Hamler, I was pulling for him. He had some great preseason games, and he was a lot of fun on Hard Knocks. He was released by the Bills. Michael Gallup's comeback attempt died on the vine, released by the Commanders, as was KJ Osborne. Malachi Corley, the first pick in the third round of last year's draft, released by the Jets. Deontay Johnson, released by the Browns, who would rather apparently have Isaiah Bond. Trey Palmer, released by the Buccaneers. Lil Jordan Humphrey, released by the Giants. Trent Brown, the tackle, released. I thought that was a mild surprise. Greg Dulcich, Jelani Woods, a couple of tight ends set free. And then linebacker Isaiah Simmons, who was a free agent signing by Green Bay, did not make the team, was, I believe, a first-round draft pick in 2020. Anything stand out to you other than Sincere McCormick?
So McCormick flashed a little bit last year. He had 12 for 64 and 15 for 78 in weeks 13 and 14. And I honestly, I felt like I liked him better than Zamir White. Whether
Zamir White on the list either, if it makes you feel better.
But they're both behind a the new hotness, Ashton Genty, and 77-year-old Raheem Mostert, who's looked explosive in preseason.
You just named two guys that can actually run the ball.
So, quarterback, it wouldn't surprise me to see DeVito or Hayner land somewhere. Like, it feels like Cleveland. I get they're talking, hey, Dylan Gabriel, and I like Gabriel, but it feels like they have a need for a veteran quarterback. I know you're saying, well, if they have the need for a veteran quarterback, why not just keep Kenny Pickett? Well, because I think they got a decent offer, and they're like, well, we could really use the draft capital, and if we can get a veteran off the scrap heap, and really, because to me the philosophy is, if Flacco gets hurt and you need somebody to take over the game, that's probably not the rookie. That's a veteran quarterback that can step in and lose the game gracefully. Then when you have a week to prepare for the rookie, then you let the rookie then start the next week where they've had some time to work with the ones and get the reps.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back Tyler Huntley on their practice squad. And I just don't think that they care that much about having another, and there's no one really that got set free that I think would be that much more attractive. I would just imagine they'll put Huntley back on the practice squad.
Yeah, but if you're Huntley, at what point are you like, I want to go somewhere where, I'm not the side piece.
Well, I don't know. At this point, he's just happy. At this point, I think he's just happy if he has a job, because it looked like he was set up to be the career long-term backup to Lamar Jackson, and that they loved him. But when they leaned on him a couple of times, he obviously, even though he made the Pro Bowl that year, he didn't win any games, and I think they missed the playoffs. And Baltimore said, peace, and then he tried Miami, which Miami's desperate for a backup. I mean, they're currently rolling with Zach Wilson, but they tried him and it did not. Where I think people tried him and regretted their
right.
They're like Joe Bluth. They're like, I've made a horrible mistake. And now, Cleveland has been at least interested with him. I think he's at the point in time where if he wants to continue his NFL career, he's going to be happy to be on a practice squad. I mean, the reality is a lot of these teams are only carrying 2 quarterbacks, even though it's never been easier to have 3 quarterbacks active and not count against you on game day. A lot of the teams just use the practice squad as their number 3 quarterback guy regardless. So, there's more guys than jobs. I think of that list of quarterbacks, the one I'm most intrigued to see where he ends up is Hendon Hooker, because you kind of liked the pick when Detroit made it. Obviously wasn't available his first year. I thought it was a little bit of a red flag that they were heading into the playoffs and they were like, we've got to get somebody else after carrying Hendon as their backup all year. And even though Brandon Allen did not, or is it Brandon Allen or Kyle Allen? I get the nondescript white Allens mixed up. But one of them did not start out well in the preseason, still far surpassed Hendon Hooker in their estimation. Somebody said they thought the Saints would go for Hendon Hooker. I don't see how that improves their situation. I don't see how that helps him. But if he could latch on and be a practice squad for like a Kansas City or a Minnesota or even a Denver, or let's think about places that are even, I guess the Rams kept 3 quarterbacks, so there's no chance they're taking another one on their practice squad. But, somewhere where they are good, San Francisco might be a nice, somewhere where you can
think develop. Detroit tries to bring him back on their practice squad?
Maybe, and that would be fine too. But I'm thinking for him, if he wants to progress, I'd almost look and see if you got interest from a team that was maybe a little bit better at developing quarterbacks, because none of those are places where you'd end up probably staying and playing, or unless you wanted to be a career backup. But I think we've seen some of these guys where they reach a certain level and they need to go somewhere else. And you know, I'm not sure that Detroit is necessarily the place for him right now.
Yeah. Well, in the running back group, Pierre Strong is the one that surprised me because Cleveland doesn't roster a lot of backs. And so right now it's Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, and Quinshon Judkins. So I think that tells you that they feel pretty comfortable with where the Judkins situation is and getting him signed. Maybe they grab a Khalil Herbert. But if you're going to grab Khalil Herbert, why not keep Pierre Strong? So, he knows your system. He's a good pass catcher. He can play special teams for you.
Or maybe they are closer to making a decision on. I mean, Quinshon Judkins is the big unknown there, and that's why it was, ESPN's depth chart still has Quinshon Judkins on there, even though he hasn't technically signed a contract. So I think they only kept Ford and Dylan Sampson for now, right?
Correct.
That's what they did, I feel like, last year too. They only had 2 running backs at the beginning, but it was because they had a move in mind. And I don't know, the Judkins thing remains a little bit of a mystery. He's not going to face any legal charges, but there's supposedly still a suspension hanging out there. And they said the team's been waiting to sign him in part because they were trying to see what the NFL was going to do. At this point in time, maybe they'd be better off just signing him and forcing the NFL's hand, which, may end up being the exempt list. The NFL just did that to the Texans safety, Jimmy Ward, got dropped on the exempt list because they're not ready. Or maybe there'll be a period of time where he's available, to play, because we still don't know what's going to happen with Rice. We've heard he's going to play 4 games and then meet with the commissioner. But at the beginning of or at the end of last week, they started talking about how Rice and the NFLPA are trying to work on a settlement that will be decided before week 1 so that he can serve a suspension early in the season. I mean, there's a lot of things in flux, but them not keeping Pierre Strong, especially when they also didn't have to keep 4 quarterbacks, made me think that they're closing in on Judkins.
Well, and another thing that makes me feel like we're going to hear a deal anytime now. On our lads, you know who they list as the primary kick returner for the Browns?
Judkins? Jerome
Ford. They're de facto starting running back right now. You don't use your starting running back as your kickoff return guy.
Well, normally, but the Browns are another team that, you could potentially tell me anything about them and I would believe it. Well, I'm sure there's going to be more news when we gather on Thursday. It's continuing to flood in. Frustratingly, my Broncos seem to be one of the only teams in the NFL that hasn't posted their actual 53-man roster. I would like to see, even the local beat writers have not posted any news in 2 hours. Like, I'm trying to piece together based on what I think your cuts and moves are, but, some clarity.
How you feel about the Audric Estime cut?
I didn't think he was going to make the team. I watched preseason.
Okay.
I actually wasn't sure Jaleel McLaughlin would make it either. I knew Beatty was going to make it. Tyler Beatty and RJ Harvey are the ones that played with the starters on Saturday. The first team offense, the entire first team offense. Bo Nix, Evan Ingram, Cortland Sutton was out there playing his ass off. It was RJ Harvey and Tyler Beatty were the running backs. I was like, there is no shot that Estime is making the roster. There's 0 shot. Estime played the entire 4th quarter. I was like, well, I think they may try to put him on the practice.
I hardly knew you.
I think they'll try to put him on the practice squad. I don't know if anybody else is really going to go hard for him. We'll see. But Blake Watson, I liked him. I thought he would be a practice squad candidate, but he got injured. So I'm thinking they may go for Estime. They kept McLaughlin and Beatty, and then Dobbins and Harvey. I was not surprised by that. If you were in a fantasy league with me, you saw me start releasing Audric Estime into onto the waiver wire on Friday. So, um, well, today we're going to talk over unders. We're going to go division by division. On Thursday, when we're back, we'll give our award predictions and our final playoff predictions, but you'll probably get a sense of how we're feeling about these teams going on the over unders. All of these numbers are courtesy of Yahoo Fantasy Sports.
Yahoo!
So basically, I'll give you the number and you can give me whether you are over or under. And these are all 0.5. So, for example, the Chiefs are 11.5, which means if you think they win 11 games, you would take the under. If you think they win 12 or more, you would take the over. I am taking the slight under. I think they are an 11-win team.
I actually have them at 11 wins also. I like them. I think they'll be fine, but their defense has played well.
The Chargers are 9.5 for the over-under. I'm taking the slight under. I actually think they'll finish 9-8.
I have the Chargers at 8-9 and just missing the playoffs.
Denver Broncos over-under is 9.5. I am taking the over.
I have the Broncos winning that division, being the number 1 seed.
I have to be honest, as a fan, I want to feel that, but since everybody and their brother seems to be on the Broncos bandwagon now, that feels like the worst place to be. Maybe I'm just a pessimist. Las Vegas Raiders over under is 6.5. I'm actually taking the slight over. I think they are a 7-win team.
I do as well. I have them at 7-10. I think that they have some questions, but I like Pete Carroll. I think the Chip Kelly offense is going to be okay. It'll be something to see how he's modified it since his last NFL stint. But they definitely have talent with Bowers and Genty and some of those other players on that team. So
AFC North, Baltimore Ravens also at 11.5. I'm taking the slight under. I think they are an 11-win team.
I'm taking the slight over. I've got them at 12.
Cincinnati Bengals 9.5. I'm taking the over.
I have them over as well. I've got them at 11-6. I don't think they go deep into the playoffs because I just don't think their defense will be good enough. But I do think they can win 11 games this year.
Pittsburgh Steelers over under is 8.5. I'm taking the slight over. I think they will still get to 9 wins.
I must really, really hate Aaron Rodgers. I've got him under. I only have him at 6.
Over under for the Browns 4.5. This is actually the lowest over under Yahoo has for any team. I am taking the under because I think 4 or less wins is probably most likely.
Call me a homer. I'm taking the over. I got him at 5.
AFC East, Buffalo Bills sitting at 11.5. I'm taking the over.
I've got him at the under. I got him at 11-6.
New England Patriots 8.5 for an over under. I am taking the over.
I am taking the over as well, but I do think they missed the playoffs.
Miami Dolphins 7.5. I wrestled with this one, but I am taking the under.
I am as well. Got them actually at the bottom of the division.
New York Jets over under is 5.5, which gave me pause, but I'm taking the over.
I have the over as well. Got them 1 game ahead of the Dolphins. And so here's my deal: as I was going,
I don't think either of those teams is going to be great.
Well, I ended up. I probably have both of them about a win too high. But as I was going through the playoff predictor and guessing, who wins, it just feels like Mike McDaniel is one of the early favorites to be the first coach canned. If things get shaky there, it feels like he's going. And we're not going to see an interim come in and win a shit ton of games. So if it goes off the rails there, it goes. And so, I've got them at 6-11.
Final AFC division, that is the South. Houston Texans at 9.5. I have the slight over.
9.5. I have them over as well. I've got them 10-7.
Jacksonville Jaguars 7.5. I have the over. I think they'll be closer to a little over 500.
Yeah, I've got them actually winning the division at 10-7 by virtue of having a better division record than the Texans.
Danny Dimes, Indianapolis Colts 7.5. I have the under.
Under for me as well. I've got them at 6. And that, if I probably would have taken the under if it was Anthony Richardson. I think I would have been, Jones is going to have his games where he melts down. I do think he holds on to the starting job all season. I think there'll be a couple games that he gets pulled because he melts down and, has a turnover fest. But I don't think there's any question about it that if that passing game is going to work, it's going to work with Jones. And they've got Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, and A.D. Mitchell, and they added Tyler Warren, and they've got Jonathan Taylor. They could potentially surprise with big upside if Jones just plays league average ball.
Feels like a big if. Tennessee Titans, final AFC team. Their over-under is 5.5. I'm going to take the slight over. I think they can win at least 6 games.
Yeah, I've got them at 7-10. I feel like Cam Ward has faced a lot of adversity, and I think he'll be able to really rally this team. Well, not to the point of making a playoff run. I think a 7-win rookie season will be very positive for them.
For the NFC West, they actually have San Francisco as the highest over-under, which is not what I predicted when I was charting things. 10.5. I'm going to take the slight under. I think they win 10 games.
I've got them over. I as I go through their schedule and look for losses, it just I think I've got them with the best record in the league, and I don't feel good about it.
You shouldn't. Team with no wide receivers. They literally might be starting Sky Moore week 1.
They've got Brian Robinson, damn it.
I had to think for a minute. I'm like, Brian Robinson, what receiver is that? Oh, you mean it's their backup running back. Los Angeles Rams, 9.5. I'm going to take the slight under. I'm feeling less bullish about the Rams. Matthew Stafford's condition kind of scares me. And I think that NFC West, they're all going to be hovering around 500 again, in that 9-10 win range.
I have them with the over, but again, that's in my head, that's predicated on them playing. If it's predicated on Stafford playing all season. I think the combination of Stafford, Nacua, and Devontae Adams is just going to be lethal.
Seattle Seahawks sitting at 8.5. I wrestled with this. I'm taking the slight over. I think they win 9 games.
I've got them under, and I kept looking for wins. I want them to win. I hope they win 9 games. I really do, because I love the Sam Darnold redemption arc.
For me, it's more the defense. They had a very impressive defense last year. They made some improvements. I like Mike McDonald, and I think they're going to run. I just think that division is going to be very close. Cardinals were 8.5. Also, I took the under.
Yeah, I got the under on the Cardinals. I got them at 6-11.
NFC North, the Detroit Lions sitting at 10.5. I'm taking the slight.
That may very well be because of my Kyler Murray hate, though.
I don't know. I have them under too. Murray's fine for fantasy. Lions sitting at 10.5. I am taking the slight over.
I got them just slightly over, 11-6.
Green Bay Packers sitting at 9.5. I wrestled with this. I think 9 wins wouldn't be a shock, but I'm going to take the slight over.
I got them at 10-7. Missing the playoffs, though.
Minnesota Vikings 8.5. I'm taking the under.
I got them at 10-7 as well, and squeaking in that last playoff spot. I don't know what makes me feel so good about them, but
I don't either. Search your heart. The Chicago Bears 8.5 feels almost like a push to me. They feel like they are an 8 or a 9 win team. I guess ultimately I'm going to go slight over.
Well, at 8.5, I'm taking the under. I got them at 8 and 9, which to me, I think is going to be a great season for them. If they can go 8 and 9, if they're competitive, it feels like a team that's going to have like 5 one-score losses this year.
It's possible. NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles at 11.5. I'm taking the under. I think they are a 10 or 11 win team.
I got them at 12 and 5. I think they, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is the Madden curse. If Barkley craps the bed, I'm not a huge. I liked Will Shipley, but he's not going to replace Saquon Barkley's production.
Washington Commanders at 9.5. I wrestled with this, but I don't know. The Commanders were one of the luckiest teams in terms of outcomes and surprising things, and they played a very soft schedule last year. That won't be the case. I'm taking the slight under. I think they go back to 9 and 8.
I got them at 11 and 6. I get they played a soft schedule, but you have to learn how to win, and they learned how to win last year a little bit. I think they believe in Jaden Daniels. McLaurin signed and he's happy. Debo, I think that offense is going to carry him to 11 wins.
Dallas Cowboys sitting at 8.5. I took the slight over. I think they can get to 9 wins.
I think their defense is going to be bad, and so I've got them at 6 and 11. I think they're going to be under.
New York Giants 5.5. I am taking the under.
I am as well.
Last division in the NFC, the South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 9.5. I am taking the over.
What was the number? 9.5?
Yeah, 9.5.
I got them over. I've got them winning the division at 11 and 6. Or the division.
Yeah. Atlanta Falcons, their over under is 7.5. It feels kind of spot on, but I am going to take the slide over.
I would love for them to win more than 8 games.
Well, the 8 is all they need for the over-under.
I'm pulling for Michael Penix, and they've got Bijan Robinson and Drake London, and that offense could be super productive. They added a ton of defensive pieces, but it's all got to come together. I've got them at 8 and 9, which is just slight over.
Carolina was another tough one, 6.5. I like Carolina. I want to root for them, but I looked at their schedule. It's not very easy. I think 6 wins is probably more realistic, so I'm taking the slight under.
That's where I have them, 6 wins. Again, it's another team that I think needs to learn how to win, and I think they're building something with Dave Canales. And could I see them being a year early like the Giants of a few seasons ago? Sure, I could see them rally and win 9 or 10 games when we don't expect it. But I agree, 6 wins is the number.
Last one, the New Orleans Saints, 5.5. I feel like that's too high. I'm definitely under.
I searched and searched and searched for victories in the Saints schedule. Because honestly, I just don't believe that 2 wins is reasonable to predict, but that's where I have them. I've got them under the 5 wins. I just, I don't know, man. You know what surprised me? I was looking at their depth chart that Cam Jordan is a backup, listed as a backup. It just, granted, I'm living on reputation in my head because the dude's old. He's 34, 35 years old now. It makes sense. But, because I'm pulling for Spencer Rattler, I want more than 2 wins, but yeah, I've got him on the under.
I mean, I'm more curious. They kept Velus Jones as a running back. I'm guessing probably because he does more special teams. On this depth chart I'm looking at, Cam Jordan is listed as the starting left defensive end.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at our lads earlier today. I think it was.
Huh. Well, I guess we'll find out when they play a game. Although Saints be praised. Let's hope neither of us has to watch a lot of Saints games on Sundays. I'm excited about Thursday when we do our playoff predictions because based on these over-unders, I think you and I have very different ideas about how some of these divisions and things are going to shake out. So I'll be curious to see how we end up going through and then what our award predictions are. Probably going to be a lot more news too.
Is that what we're doing Thursday?
Yeah.
I should probably read the sheet.
Yep. So we'll do our final because that's going to be basically our last regular show before the NFL season kicks off. Because on Monday we will be doing a live show, which is our live draft on Labor Day for our show Redraft League. So we'll be talking redraft and we'll be talking our draft as it's going through, doing live reactions. I can't remember, what pick do you have?
Oh, that's an awesome question.
Well, I guess we should look. I know I'm pick 9. I thought we were.
Are we doing third round reversal in that league?
Yeah, I think third round reversal.
I think I'm at like 10.
Yeah, so I thought you and I are real close together. Yeah, you're 10, which means there's going to be like some live on-air sad sniping one way or the other because you and I are either before or after one another in every single round. So that's going to be let's hope we make it to the end of the show.
Be good times.
Good time. And then of course next Thursday will be the first day of
sweaty ball.
Yeah. And next Thursday will be, of course, the kickoff of the regular season. So we'll have the full week 1 preview. So this Thursday is going to be our last really preseason show. So we'll do our playoff predictions, award predictions. They will start forming practice squads tomorrow. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more signings and trades just because your favorite sleeper made the roster today. It does not mean they will be on the roster on Thursday. So we will see what all shakes out and what we can learn. Dennis, if people have something that needs to fill their time and they've already looked at the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift engagement photos 470 times, what else can they do?
Well, you can do like I do. Did you know we're on Spotify? Go to your favorite podcast platform, hit that search bar, type in the Fantasy Football Roundtable podcast, and listen to our big old backlog. If you got drafts coming up, we got you covered with rankings and all kinds of stuff. But hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave us a rating and a review.
Congratulations to all those that made NFL teams. We'll look forward to seeing what else news comes along the way. Until then, you guys have a wonderful week.